Today, I would like to talk about the importance of interviews. I think I'm gonna be a little bit different from the regular interview coach. It's because of the fact that you're not gonna be paying me that much just yet. But maybe you guys will later. But let's put it this way. Everybody needs a job sooner or later. Whether you're gonna start your own business, that's great. But a lot of times, a lot of the business owners, they actually have done a lot of side jobs or jobs because in order to continue that business continuity, they needed something at the meanwhile. They needed a cash flow, or else they're gonna go hungry. The minimum that I needed to do is really to buy food and water, these type of things, a decent living quarter. That's important too. So no matter what, you still have to remember that you still need interview skills. You still need a job sooner or later. So let's begin. I think the superficial part of interviewing should be pretty simple. You shouldn't get a tattoo on your face. You shouldn't do something outrageous. You should have a common sense of what is outrageous. If you have an outrageous thing, it's probably best to cover it up, unless your job requires it. For example, if you're a tattoo artist, you probably want to show your tattoos that you have done on yourself or for other people. But otherwise, if it is for other jobs, you probably want to cover it up. So you got to go online and check out what type of things you should cover up. Tattoos are the biggest turnoff, probably for most people. But if you wear something on top of the tattoo, or if you wear you can put a bandage on top of the tattoo, even the people they saw the tattoo, they know you are covering it up. That's a really good plus because people actually realize that you know what is appropriate, you know what is actually right. So you have turned a negative situation into a positive one now. So that's good. You should also dress appropriately for the occasion. So whatever it is, just dress with par with everybody else. Don't be outrageous. Don't be wearing something like too much bling blingy. Just wear the normal, regular stuff for that type of interview. So there are some interviews that requires a shirt and tie. You could wear a shirt and tie. You could just wear a shirt and a jacket. A lot of times, a shirt and jacket is already decent enough for a lot of jobs. But depending how formal your job is, then maybe you gotta up yourself for a little bit. But these things are cheap. You can find it anywhere. You can find clothes anywhere. You don't even have to buy them, quite honestly, because they are dirt cheap nowadays. And you can get it from your friends or the people that don't work in those jobs anymore. So those excuses of I couldn't find the right apparel, those are terrible excuses because you should always try to dress to impress, but appropriately. And then let's move out of the superficial part because superficial part can only get you so far. I know a lot of people, they started really well in their 20s because they did really well academically, or they actually have somebody to help them out in the beginning. But later in life, they started to have a lot of problems. Why? It's because they never really acquired good interviewing skills. Interviewing skills is really important because it's how you present yourself. What you have done is actually a testimony of what you have done in life so far. So people are not going to have an auditing book of you, what you have done. You have to explain it to the people piece by piece and define who you are. You actually have to sculpt yourself like a sculpture. How people should look at you in which angle. What type of a person you are. Are you a persuasive person? Are you a hardworking person? Do you get along with people well? These type of things are going to be in the interviews. You're going to be portraying it. Even though sometimes a lot of jobs nowadays are contracts, so you won't be working there for a very long time. The people always want somebody who's easy to work with, good to work with. So try to be likable. Likable is a very important factor. No matter what, don't complain about the temperature or the heat, things like that from the beginning. Just unless it's really outrageous, you should agree with the other person. Let's say it is too cold. Right now it is too cold in this seat that I'm in, but I'm keeping myself composed until the interviewer said it is too cold. Or you actually just gesticulate the fact that you're kind of cold. Then the interviewer will turn up or turn down the AC, whatever it is. So that is what you need to do. And then let's move on to the content of what you need to speak. First of all, you should speak about the things that adhere to the job. Let's say I actually do IT. So talk about the experiences that you have had. Maybe starting from college that you enjoy doing IT. You could briefly touch about on it, but what is the most important is what you're doing today. So what have you been doing the past 5 years is the most important. And you could say that very general things. You don't no longer have to say, I went to this company, this such and such, I went to this such and such. You say, for the past 5 years, I have been doing such and such projects. Over there are certain challenges that I had to face. And this is what I have faced. And it is very interestingly that I faced these issues. And this is how I resolved some of that. And some of it wasn't resolved, and what happened to it? And I let whatever it is, subject matter expert, took care of it. And later, we actually re-engaged and did another project again as a result. But the party that have engaged in that project are still happy of certain results, because there are no projects that are going to be perfect, but we have to make the best out of it. So I'm actually giving you a framework of what you should be saying. Obviously, what you have to do is to obviously expand these things a lot more. What type of methodologies? How do you actually engage these people? Who did you engage? If that person did not engage, you have to find the next person to talk to. Who's the subject matter expert? How to find the subject matter expert? These things, you should have it in your head. That's how you actually become a pretty good interview feed. Okay, so these things that are important. And the thing is after you explain all these things, then it comes the questions. The questions of when can you start? How much salary are you looking for? If you actually don't really like the job that much, you should actually go for a pretty high salary, because of the fact that going for a high salary, they will turn you down, and then you don't have to get turned down officially. When you get turned down, when they have offered you, and you have to turn them down officially, it's in the record, it's in the books. You might not be able to get employed from that company for a little while. So that is actually one of the methodologies to get turned down by them. Or another methodology to actually, you realize that half of the way you don't really like that job. Then you say, well, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know about this type of project. After I've listened to your description of it, then they will actually get the hints that you probably don't want that job. And you would probably not get an offer from them, which is another pretty good thing to do. Because a lot of times these companies have good jobs, but not necessarily the people that you want to work with. That is for sure. There are a lot of people out there that are bad teammates. It has nothing to do with the company. So they're just bad teammates. And you don't want to be part of the reputation and part of a bad team. Because a bad team, what does it lead to? Bad projects, bad work, bad career path. I've learned that the hard way. And too bad that nobody told me that when I was a little bit younger. Now that I'm older, I know exactly what to do. Okay, so now the questions you're gonna be asking should be smart. Okay, if you really want that job, then you should be asking smart questions. Who else is working with you? You ask the boss. Who is parallel with you? Who is above you? Who is underneath you? Am I going to be directly reporting to you? What are my duties? And how do you think that this project is going to be pulled off in time? So these type of things that you should be asking, but you shouldn't be asking in a way that is kind of like their boss. You have authority over him. You shouldn't do that either. So as a result, if it is good, if you actually have good chemistry, that's the most important thing. That you are trying to build the questions and make that you two have chemistry. Sometimes it is true that I have zero chemistry with this guy or this woman. And it has nothing to do with anything. It's just personality. When they see you, when they actually first catch your eyes, they are already uncomfortable. And that is the thing, that no matter how good of an interview that you actually have provided, or no matter how good of a technical skill that you have provided, they would actually avoid to actually work with you. Unless you have a skill that nobody has in the market, then they have to work with you. But otherwise, in the normal life, you just know that this we're just not working. Okay, so you have to go back to the drawing board. That can I find somebody out there that that is going to have a better chemistry with me? The thing about it is, about anybody to have great chemistry, is to, let's say you are kind of like a pizza, like you're kind of a pizza dough. So you have made yourself kind of flat. But the fact that you should actually have to remold the dough into more of the shape of the interviewer. It's hard to do if you actually are really, really far apart. And sometimes actually interviewers are actually jealous of you. Actually, they might not like you in some ways, that they feel something about you. Well, in that case, then don't worry. Just let them turn you down. Okay? Not get the offer, and maybe a couple months later, that company will repost something, and you will find that job, and that job will be yours instead. Don't get frustrated. The worst thing to do is to get frustrated. Everybody wants to employ a happy person, like me. So, get used to being happy, at least in front of them. So, but don't be too happy. If you're too happy, then they'll treat you like what? Like dirt, like garbage, because he's gonna be happy regardless. So there's a good medium. It's kind of like the Chinese Tai Chi sign, the yin and the yang. It has to be a decent balance. Once you actually have made that balance, you start living a better life, and you actually will get a lot of good jobs out there. I hope this actually helps you out. Well, I'm going to be signing off now, but I'm going to be posting more of interviewing tips for you guys. See ya!